This is Gabriel Gonzalez for Cageside Press here with Gilbert Melendez ahead of Fight Night San Jose this Saturday, December 14th. So Gilbert, second event for you guys. Look, I imagine the first event, quite the learning curve, right? It's one thing to practice, it's another thing to actually deliver live. How has the second event been after all the experience of the first?
Well, there was so much excitement in the first, and it's so unknown for myself. And, walking through it, it was a success. So, I feel very confident walking into the second one. But that has a lot to do with Scott Coker and the amazing infrastructure he's built over the years. So, it's not fair, to compare myself to a first time promoter because I have the guidance of my mentor and my longtime promoter, Scott Coker. So it's great having that infrastructure. But I feel like a lot more calm, like I'm a fighter, so I always make comparisons to fighting. You have that fight, you feel the nerves a little, but once you get it, you're kind of ready to jump back in that next one. And if there's anything I learned from fighting is when you have momentum, you got to keep that momentum going. So right now I feel like I got a little momentum in this and I know I got to keep it going.
So you've been part of a lot, obviously several organizations as a fighter. You've been on the broadcast side of things. You've been a bit of a reality star with Ultimate Fighter. So you're no stranger to a lot of the different roles that can be part of mixed martial arts, right? What role has been the most challenging for you as more of the promoter now in a organization?
Sure. So initially I'm trying to just build my team, my brand, my fighters. Now I'm trying to build an ecosystem for the whole Bay Area community. And in order for my fighters to grow, we need other gyms to succeed and develop great fighters. So, it's been a challenge to, not just serve my community, but to serve the whole community. And I don't know if that would call that a challenge so much, but it's a new thing for me, just extending that network and making friends with these coaches and challenging their fighters against my fighters, but maintaining like sportsmanship and professionalism. So that sometimes is a little bit tricky, but I think I'm doing a great job. And lastly, I think the most challenging thing for me really is I'm a coach and I love to corner my fighters. And this time I'm putting my coach's hat aside and I have three fighters competing and they're in great hands with other coaches. But to be respectful to the sport, to be respectful to the community, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to watch the show. I'm going to scream, of course, but I'm not going to be in a corner of my fighters because I believe some of the community expressed that they didn't feel like that was the way to go. Now, is it against the rules? It's not against the rules, but I respect the community. But that's also my biggest challenge is, man, I know I can help my guys when I'm in their corner a little bit more, but I feel very confident they'll be just fine without me.
Got to be a little bit unbiased. It doesn't want to give the wrong impression. I could get that. I could get that. For
Yeah, I had to get that too.
I mean, it's like that. Y'all know we train together. What's wrong? For fans who are going to be tuning in for the first time, it's three different disciplines, two very similar, Muay Thai and kickboxing, and then you've got some MMA in there. So for fans tuning in for the first time, I'm assuming it's a ring, or are they going to be doing the striking arts in a cage also?
No, correct. It's going to be in a ring. It's going to be a ring. Myself, I fought in Shudo. I fought in Pride. Scott was involved with K1 back in the day, and we're a big fans of the ring. Big fans of the ring. So we're going to do it in a ring. We're going to have Muay Thai fights in the ring. We're going to have MMA fights in the ring, and yes, kickboxing in there. And I'm a big believer in the ring. I love it. I think it's a square. You can actually corner somebody, right? And these circular cages, it's very hard to corner someone and they're very big. It's a 24-foot cage. You could corral somebody in. I believe you could bounce off the ropes and not get wedged against the cage. And a lot of restarts in the center, right? Like, so you're not just wedged against the cage and bored there. Hey, if you're falling out the ring, we bring you back to the middle. And when you're in that open field, action can happen. You could stand up, you can scramble a lot more. So, and also for the spectators, we really believe it's a great visual. I love watching fights through the ring versus through the cage. I'm a big believer in both. I'll go to a cage fight, I'll go whatever, but we like the ring. And I'm a big believer in it. I think it increases the action ultimately. And yes, Fight Night San Jose will be in the Fight Night ring.
Let's go. I want to ask you about working with Scott Coker. Obviously, a lot of us in the media have a lot of experience working around him, interviewing him, and seeing the production he puts on. What's it been like working with him? I guess what could you describe a typical work meeting with Scott Coker to be like now, compared to when you were
Wow,
just a fighter?
yeah, work with Scott a long time. So much respect for him and what he's done for the sport. But it's fun seeing him with his business hat on and seeing how direct he can be, seeing how fierce he could be, and see how passionate he is for the sport. I really always liked the way he moved, how he treated me as a fighter, and I love to see him in action. The way he treats the community, the fighters. He listens to the fighters. He wants to collaborate with the fighters, the gyms, and the coaches. And just watching him execute and just to see the infrastructure he's built is impressive. But Scott's awesome. A meeting is, he'll be like, "Come on, fam, let's all get together." He'll buy us some steaks. We'll sit and eat. We'll eat some food. We'll feel good. We're feeling happy, and then he'll lay it down with the hard stuff, and we'll get to work. And I love that about him. Just when we're feeling relaxed and good, he'll lay it in. All right, now it's time for business, and we get to business. And yeah, it's great working with them. I'm learning a lot. Just being around his presence and just feeling his aura, and he's a real boss, and he's doing a lot for the community, and it's great working with him.
I don't want you to necessarily have to speak for him, but I think sometimes from our end is that like we could clearly recognize a great leader in Scott Coker that the fighters were really getting behind. Obviously, things happen with PFL and Bellator. Do you feel like this has allowed Scott Coker to be that guy still for the community? Because I think that's one thing is like we would hate to think that we are now without Scott Coker because I think the space is better for having a leader and just a figure like him in the sport, in combat sports in general.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's crucial to the Bay Area mixed martial arts ecosystem, right? And him and I were like-minded in the sense we're like, man, I was developing fighters. There's no shows for them to fight on. Maybe once a year, LFA came to town, and there's some small shows where you couldn't really get the fight. And I could tell Scott was like, he built something special here. And once Strikeforce got sold, it just wasn't the same. And I know he helped lead Bellator, and of course he was significant. He built it up to a $300 million company from a $50 million company, which is impressive, but it wasn't his company, right? So he felt a little detached and couldn't really, build it the way he wanted to. And I think this is his chance to take another swing at it and to really give back to his neighborhood and put his flag down there and say, hey, this is still my neighborhood. And to be able to work alongside and for him to, to endorse me has been great. But it's crucial for the Bay Area community to have him. And I think it's crucial for just the MMA community in general to have him. And I think this is a start into the right direction.
Well, look, clearly he's got a great business partner with you. A couple more. In terms of the company, obviously you guys putting on events, second one coming up this Saturday. In your mind, what would you say is that? I don't know if I want to say end goal because obviously things can evolve, but do you see it as being just like, hey, we're just going to be doing our own thing? Would you like to see it maybe evolve into kind of like the LFA and the CFFC, where it's like, hey, we got the recognition and could be a bit of a feeder system in tandem with the big companies? How do you see it?
Yeah, this year we had two shows this year. Expect more next year, right? Doubling it. Continue to build the Bay Area community out here. And yes, there are goals. There are other goals out there. But right now, I'm dialed in the Bay Area scene. And I think those are going to be questions for Scott, who is the big vision, right? And, sometimes I'm caught up doing the work over here while he's cooking up big things, and making moves and has other plans as well. And so those are questions for him to answer for sure, but definitely expect more. Expect more. And we want to have a big impact, not a small impact. We want to have a big impact in the MMA community ultimately.
I've got two more. The first one on a more personal note. So we just heard the announcement of Global Fight League. It looked like they were drafting quite a few big name veterans from across the leagues. I'm wondering, did a email or a phone call or message ever reach Gilbert Melendez asking him to be a part of this next year?
Absolutely. I did receive a phone call. I did receive, a pretty good offer and everything. But at this point, I feel like I have a lot of things cooking for me. This is my new fight. I have my gyms. It's my turn to give back to the MMA community. And as cool as that deal was, it wasn't enough for me to stop right now and stop this momentum. And I understand a lot of fighters need to keep fighting and doing that. And I love fighting, but I don't plan on fighting for anybody but myself now. When I fight, it's gonna have to build my brand. It's gonna be for me. It'll be under my own lights, under my own organization, or it's gonna really have to benefit me. I'm not into being an employee anymore. I want to be a boss, or I want to work next to a boss who considers me a partner. So I'm looking at partnerships nowadays, not to be an employee of anybody.
All right, respect that. But I had a feeling I was like, I bet you they reached out to him. Have to ask him.
But I
Final
think,
question.
but on another note, I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I've seen all the names out there, and I can't lie, man. Of course, you want to jump in that stuff, and it's always great to add more to the ecosystem in there, and I follow, of course. I'm an MMA fan. Gabriel, just like you, I'm a fan first, and we evolve into whatever we do, in this sport, So I'm on top of it. I'm like, oh man, who's the new global fight league? What are they up to? So I think it's all great for the whole MMA ecosystem.
Love it. Final question. Obviously, we have Daniel Compton and Joaquin Lopez on the card. Jesse Jess taking on Mariana Ramirez. Just what can you tell me about some of the matchups we have this Saturday?
Yeah, Daniel Compton did Muay Thai against Charles Rodriguez the first time around, and Charles Rodriguez has fought in Glory Kickboxing, and they closed off the night with the banger out there. So every time I mention Compton, I'm like, it's gonna be a banger. So now he's doing MMA, and Compton's done a great job, representing the Smash Gym with Rudy Ott. That's Kung Lee's descendant, Rudy Ott. So he's that Kung Lee is that Bay Area martial arts as well. And Compton is going to be doing MMA. I love his attitude. He's like a fighter. He's a bully. He says some crazy things, but he backs it up. And now Joaquin Lopez fighting at Dave Terrell's gym, who's Cesar Gracie's first black belt. That's the Cesar Gracie fight team right there. So Joaquin Lopez, solid wrestler, solid jiu-jitsu, and light on his feet, a great boxer, definitely stepping up and taking the challenge. But I do think this one is going to be a banger, of course. And, of course, Jessica Rose Clark against Ramirez. They fought each other before. And for whatever reason Ramirez was having, they were having a competitive fight, good fight. I know Jessica was winning, but Ramirez wasn't able to continue. And I know she wants to finish this fight off, right? She wants to step back in there, and she believes she can do way better. And she doesn't want to stop in the corner on the stool, whether it was doctor stoppage, rep, something happened where they didn't get to really finish it out. So I'm happy for Jessica Rose Clark, someone who's training at the CSA gym under Kieran Fitzgibbons, who's done a really good job of bringing up Muay Thai and MMA fighters. So, I love Jessica Rose Clark's attitude. She's done with MMA. Now she wants to pursue boxing and Muay Thai. And she's someone that's a fan favorite and someone that we really like collaborating with, who's going to be a big part of the show inside the ring and outside the ring. So I'm really looking forward to her scrapping as well. And that's going to be some great Muay Thai action. And I also want to highlight Bobby Cerronio III. He does that Kajin Kembo, Hawaiian Kempo type fighting. And he has a long history of family doing that type of fighting. And he's 4-0. He fought in Bellator, and he's done some dynamic stuff. I call this not a banger. I call this nonstop ninja action. They do those wheel kicks, spinning kicks, and double leg takedowns, that Hawaiian punch I talk about. And he's fighting a very tough Brazilian by the name of Carlos Murta, who actually has been training out here with me a little bit as well. And he's a very dynamic guy as well. And he's a great fighter from Brazil and does a lot of ninja stuff as well. So expect some ninja action in this fight. I got some pros making debuts for my team. Kyle Clark, a 205-pounder. Antonio Vasquez, a 145-pounder. These are guys I've been cultivating. They're taking on some big risk Kyle's fighting an undefeated fighter, and Antonio's fighting a Muay Thai guy with 100 professional Muay Thai fights, but making his MMA debut. It's so hard to match my guy that we have to take risks. So everyone on our fight card is taking risks because there's no real gimme fights. People are taking risks.
Well, Gilbert, you got me excited. Fans can obviously attend in San Jose. Is it streaming or being broadcast anywhere just yet, or is that a 2025 goal?
I think it's a goal in the future right now, but right now it's important to build the community and make sure everyone's inside the arena. We're doing it like, the Raiders used to do out here is, hey, we're blacking it out, go to the arena and support everyone live. So we're going to do that, and we're going to have everyone in the arena. But if you want to look back on the first fight show, you can go to our YouTube, Fight Night San Jose, and you can watch the last card, and we plan on posting the fights afterwards on YouTube as well, so everyone can check them out and see what's going on out there.